Okay, so we're going to be doing a VoD review here. Duskplume asked for me to do a review, not of the race itself, obviously, because we already have commentary for this, but of the commentary provided for the race. So what we'll be doing is going over everything that's here, listening to what's going on with the race, and talk about how Duskplume specifically commentates the race. That was what they asked for. This is what we're going to be doing. So, we're gonna do half hour to an hour of this. Probably not go through the whole race. We're not here for the race. We're here for the commentary, and we're gonna see just what happens with all of that. So let's get to the point where we'll actually see commentary.
Duskplume, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Friday night, semi-final action in the spring tournament. Looking forward to this one. You got two really good runners here in Chanigan and Gannon's Gone Wild.
Yeah, this is a semi-final matchup, which means you're facing, or the people facing off here have been through a lot. In fact, they have, in their previous rounds, each beaten previous spring tournament winners. Chanigan bested Spellzap, and Gannon's Gone Wild was able to beat Crabcakes, each in best of threes. This is the first of the best of three between these two tonight, and on screen you see their draft. They took 2 black belts and 2 red mages. What do you think of this draft?
Interesting. Definitely making sure that you have enough magic at your disposal to get yourself going in the early game until you can find and grind and get those black belts going. Not dealing with any other melee, just making sure that you're going to have one of those up, and whether it's desert, whether it's a grind tile, you're going to find something. You're going to be sitting there for a while to get them going. And as you can see from our blur scenes here, it's going to take a little bit longer to get the black belt going, as we got they can equip a defense sword and they get 40 HP, but 10% hit loss, which...
Okay, so let's talk about a few things here just to get off the start. Duskplume and Cheeseinator. Cheeseinator is commentating with, so I'm going to talk about Cheeseinator while we're here as well, because that's just what we've got going on. The two of them have very nice voices. They are radio-ready voices, is how I'd kind of put it. They... nice tone, very modulated. They keep their voice fairly well going in the process. You can hear the difference between a radio voice and a non-radio voice. I actually worked in radio, and I don't think I personally have a radio voice. Nothing against myself. A little nasally. But in comparison to my own voice even, theirs is very nice, very smooth on both of them. I like listening to both of them. Couple things that each of them did that I probably would avoid, and I know I have this problem myself, and it's only when you listen to it that you hear it. Sometimes one or the other can dominate the microphone, maybe a little too long. Like, you've got two people in the booth, cutting back and forth between them and letting each of them say a little before they cut back and have it sound like a conversation. Those are things that I like, and the difference in tones and bouncing back and forth between tones helps, and it keeps things lively and interesting. You don't want to make it sound like one person is dominating conversation too much. Now, we're right at the start, so it's, we're getting stuff set up, and there's kind of, we're not even to the back and forth patter of the race itself. But Cheeseinator had a lot to say for the two runners, and it was good stuff, don't get me wrong. Putting the focus on the runners, saying where they came from, how they got through the tournament, great. Duskplume coming through and talking about the black belts and everything, great. It was a little long on both parts and maybe back and forth on that, but you'd have to work with your partner enough to get that vibe. But those are minor critiques. Just things to point out. Other thing I note with Duskplume, and I do this sometimes, I'm thinking and but you can hear the uhs, and I counted 4 in there just in that little bit, especially at the start. Maybe instead of uhing, if you pay attention, just like pause. And the best example of this I have is, and it's going to sound weird, President Obama. Because you will hear oftentimes where naturally in a speech you'd get an he'll just pause. And you can tell it's because he's thinking or he's trying to remember his speech or anything like that. But instead of doing it, it creates this very Obama cadence where he just pauses to recollect before he continues. No, generally. And it works. Like, it's an odd cadence for him specifically, but I tend to find that it sounds better than an or an or something like that. Give me 1 second, my phone alarm is going off. Ugh. Okay. Strawberry speedruns. I'm happy to listen to anything that you do. These are for anyone that wants to do one of these VoD reviews. This isn't just because, like, Duskplume specifically. If you ask, I'm happy to do a VoD review of commentary for anyone. I'm picky, don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to do is, this is something that we would do when I worked at a radio station. We'd have honestly, literally a tape deck set up, and the tape deck would click on with the record button anytime the microphone was turned on, and we'd just record everything the DJs say, and then we'd go back and listen to it with them just so they could hear things, because if you listen to yourself and have someone pointing things out, it helps to click things that you should improve. So this is what we're doing, and we're going to move forward a little bit. I want to skip ahead to actual gameplay footage. I think we're going to get there soon.
It means probably around 3 levels or so it's going to take extra to get going. And the red mage has 30 HP and 15 vitality, so they're going to have quite a bit of health, but no ribbons. So that's going to be rough in the late game trying to keep them alive.
Yeah, these two classes are going to have a lot of HP. They'll be able to soak some, like, AoE damage rolls in the late game, but they're going to have trouble, especially the red mages, of course, if Chaos or any of the previous fiends have Zap, Crack, any of those things that insta-kill you, because the red mages can't wear ribbons, so they'll need to find Wall. Wall will probably be really important, but red mages cannot learn every spell in the game, even promoted.
Okay, here we go.
So we'll see what dangers await, but meanwhile, they're off.
And we'll see what we have early on in spells. We have Life and Life 2 both not learnable early on, and we have Bane as our main attack spell.
Yeah, Bane will get you through Garland, and it clears most of the early mobs that you'll find. Life 2 post-promo is going to be good. For now, they can pick up A-Rub, which actually does help with some of those insta-kills, and Cure 3, I believe that was, which is actually a fantastic buffed healing spell.
And wood armor for everybody, at least on Ganon's side, and we're going to find nothing very interesting for the weapons. And in the item shop, oh, there's a slab. There's a shop item, don't have to worry about that.
Nice, and the Corneria shop item, if it rolls there, is always going to be lower priced, so if you can take care of that without having to spend too much, that frees up your money to use on spells, camping gear, whatever, the rest of the seed.
Okay, so here's what we were talking about a second ago, with one person dominating too much and the other person just kind of sitting back. You could see here, as the players went to different shops, the two commentators were like letting them go back and forth. One would cover one thing, one would cover the other. We'd get a nice interplay back and forth there so that no one was saying too much. They were focusing on what was important. You can notice that they didn't cover all the spell shops or all the spells that were in the shops, just the ones that were important, the ones that would actually matter to the characters. And then they pointed out some other things that was going on. Ganon buying wood armors when Chanigan didn't. The fact that the slab was available in the shop. That was all good. They both had a couple of ums that I listened to and noticed. Cheeseinator also had a like, which is another way of doing that pause. But overall, that early game, which honestly, the early game works more or less the same every time. The only surprises is what's in the shops, not how the players are going to play through the shops. But their cadence back and forth between the two of them really helped to keep that lively and make things interesting for someone listening. So,
as we see no encounters on the way up to Temple of Fiends, cabin in the first chest for Ganon's.
Okay, I want to point out one thing. Just one thing for Duskplume right there. I don't think you even realized you did it when you were doing it at the time. If you're going to take a heavy breath or something, for some listeners, like myself, mute your microphone first. I have a lot of allergies in my sinuses, so I'll be muting my microphone constantly so that no one has to hear my nose, my coughing, my anything else. Body noises are weird. Some people don't mind. I mind. It's just me. But yeah, if you think about it, whenever you're going to take a heavy breath or something like that that might get picked up, quick mute your microphone for a second, do what you got to do, then unmute before you say something.
So that's a big mob. Hopefully Ganons can clear this. Vorpal early. None of these classes can wear it, but there was a blessing on like thieves to wear Vorpals.
Well, if for any reason we promote, there's a weapon for one of the red wizards, I suppose.
Yeah. There's, I think, a very small chance, but if like all you've got left at the end is one living red wizard and like a fast, maybe the Vorpal gets there. Bane gets Chanigan a lot of experience here.
Okay, another thing I liked right there, if you were listening, there was a pause. Neither player felt the need to, or neither commentator felt the need to immediately fill it. You don't always have to be talking all the time. You can let small pauses happen during the pace of the game. Like, you don't want it to go on for 5-10 minutes of dead air, but a few seconds here or there, you don't always have to have someone talking. That's something I'm guilty of. If there's a pause, I'm going to immediately jump in and just start talking. You don't always have to.
Runnable creep trying to take that out with Bane, no problem there. And Ganon's probably going to be the first one here to pull Garland. Let's see if for once maybe Garland has something that'll, I don't know. No, probably not.
Cool. Yeah, first try hit there for Ganon's. If he had missed, he had 3 total charges, probably was going to get there. Sometimes you might safety save outside with the initial pack of tents.
So something I'm noticing with these two, Duskplume and Cheese Eater, there's no, like, some commentators will talk about one should be play-by-play, one should be color, or you need to find specific roles for how things are going. Neither commentator seems to be doing that, and I don't mind that at all. I'm not one that subscribes to everyone having to fill specific roles. I think that's whatever works for the team. Here, they're both kind of covering the same stuff. They're both willing to talk about what's going on, or the color, the play-by-play, whatever's happening, however you want to describe it. And I think it works in this instance, and I don't mind it at all. These two are working really well together. I like their commentary, and I like the tone of their voice with each other. They're playing off each other very well.
And we see our items from the King and Sarah, Canal and Adamant. So we will have something to check on when we head back to the Dwarves area and Elfland, but probably going to Provoca first. Getting the Vorpal sword sold there. Get some early cash, pick up some items before we head east.
Yeah, I think with this...
I'm just going to commentate. I find it hard not to want to commentate the race that I'm watching while I'm commentating this. But yeah, that was an important one. And that's another thing you'll notice, sometimes you might miss a detail or something that's going on. Like, for instance, right there with Vorpal. They caught Duskplume. Sorry, I'm getting the voices mixed up in my head already. Duskplume caught the fact that the Vorpal was sold. And that's a very important detail. And that's one of those things that, maybe they should have said all that. Maybe that's something that was important. But they caught that it's sold. Hold on. So they caught that it's sold, and so that was an important detail to raise. If this is, I'm not critiquing this right now, but let's say, for instance, you missed that the Vorpal sword was sold, then what you would want to do is just keep an eye on chat, as I'm doing right now, and people are talking at me about this VoD review of a VoD. But keep an eye on chat, and this is more general because Duskplume had this one covered. Just in case you missed something, thank chat, acknowledge chat. Make sure chat knows that you were paying attention. And when they say something, let's say who pointed out what happened. So like, oh yeah, Gregly Puff in chat pointed out that they sold the Vorpal. Don't just play it off like you didn't see it. Like, acknowledge chat and make sure chat knows you were paying attention. They'll appreciate you more for it. Duskplume did right here, just raising that tip. Let's jump a little further ahead. I'm bored of the early game. Let's go over here. And let's see how things are going.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk assessment that goes into picking a black belt grind.
Pause there for talking. I like that.
And I think we just have the 2 checks right now outside of the Inner Sea. We've got the Oxy Ale, which means if we want to go ahead and scour the sea for a loose, we can do that. Or we can go to Crescent, which is much more likely to have something that's going to lead us to progression.
Yeah, I think I mean, if I am in these runner's shoes, getting out of the inner sea here with the ship and canal, I probably immediately do the slab errand over in Melmond, and since you're there, you run across the continent, turn in the ruby, check those 4 chests before you head all the way over to Crescent.
So it's a good thing that Cheeseinator did right there that I want to point out. We expect our commentators to know the game at least to a certain extent. You don't have to be a pro player. Lord knows I'm not. So we don't expect you to get every detail right. But the more you play the game, the more you understand the game, the better you do in general. The more your thoughts on what the players are doing is important. Cheeseinator, having gotten into finals of several different tournaments, is a good player. His thoughts on the game matter. Now, someone who's new in chat and doesn't know who is what or how, they just want to listen to the commentators, and they expect that the commentators are going to know what's going on. So know the game you're commentating. You come in and you don't know Final Fantasy Randomizer fairly well. I recommend doing tracking first, and learning the game. Playing the game as well also helps before you come in and do commentary, because what's really, you can ask some stuff if you don't know something. I very often will be like, I don't know what the specific stats are going to be on this Silver Sword +4. I'm sure chat will know and will let me know the details. But if you know what something is, or if you have a path that you're going to take, or in my case, I'll often go, yeah, I wouldn't have done that because I need to save frames because I'm a slow player. Those kinds of things are good. Cheeseinator relating what he would do in the game is valuable. It helps out the people watching. And it also could, depending upon what Duskplume want to say next, lead to a conversation with Duskplume about what they would do in the situation. There's a lot of stuff here in the game where you're just watching the people go the same route over and over again as they're just turning in items. You gotta find ways to fill time because you can't leave a 5-minute gap in the commentary. So things where you can say something and then bounce it to your co-com to get their opinion, or like discuss something and then phrase a question to them that will help them continue the conversation. That helps. You want there to be a patter, a back and forth. Again, Cheeseinator and Duskplume are very good in their patter right now. I like what Cheeseinator did. We're going to see whether or not Duskplume takes that to add in their 2 cents or redirects it a different direction.
That is a good point from Z-Man in chat. I don't believe Ganon's ever purchased that slab, and he has not left the inner sea.
Oh,
so,
man. Wow.
Duskplume doing exactly what I said a little bit ago. He read chat, he thanked chat and thanked them by name, shared the information, and now Cheeseinator, as you just heard, is going to pick it up and share more thoughts on the game. Very nicely done.
Right, and yeah, he didn't even go up to Dr. Un to like try to turn it in and then just not. So that could be a run decider. Like when it comes to these kinds of mental things, you never know, and you would hate to see it if he forgets about the vendor item.
Okay, Cheeseinator didn't do this. I'm just pointing something out. This early in the game, and we're only 13 minutes in, you don't want to say, oh, that's going to be game breaking right there. That's the game. Call it now. Never say that. Like, there could be times where it feels like one player's made a decision, the other hasn't, and it probably could be the end of the game, but you want to keep suspense going for a little while. So again, Cheeseinator didn't do anything that I think was bad there. He did it right. He just said that could be something that's a bad thing, but didn't say the game is over, especially since you don't know what the slab is going to do. But in situations like that where it might very well be the end of the game, even though there's still an hour to go, don't say it. Cheeseinator did it right. I'm just giving advice.
And there's one more check that I did forget. We have the ruby, so we can go ahead and let the Titan munch on that. And if we want to, check those 4 chests down there on the way back, but we will see what Sarda has for us.
I also like that from Duskplume right there, a little bit of humility. We want you to know the flags, but we don't expect you to be computers. Like, keep the flags up, keep an eye on the flags in case there's a question about what's going on in the game, but you don't have to have them memorized. And in this particular instance, Duskplume forgot that the Titan leading to Sarda was something that we could check. They owned that. They did it very gracefully. And like it helps to show that we're all human, but it also then just allows them to redirect towards what the check is going to be.
And that is correct. You did see a level 5 warp that is learnable. So we do have some way to get in and out of places easier, at least, with exit not being learnable.
Yeah, exit's not till post-promotion, and this party basically never promotes. And hey, it's a crystal! I heard you like a fetch quest.
Everybody likes a fetch quest.
So, couple things there. Like the patter again, very good. There is a meme because of Frozen of would you like to take a fetch quest, or some phrasing of that, the would you like to build a snowman, that's the thing. Memes are great in small doses. I'm not saying they overdid this, but I hear this particular meme a lot. So moderate how often you reference that, and if you're listening to other races and you hear them using the meme, don't maybe use it as often on your end. The more you use a meme, the more annoying it gets for some runners. And this is not to make a complaint about another community in any way, shape, or form, but for me as a watcher, there was a particular meme in the... hate saying he's guilty about the memes. There's a particular meme in Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise. It became a running joke early with them, and it's now just something they always say. When they get to the end boss, because the end boss sprite in that game will be randomized, they'll say, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? But then there's this whole speech they make every time before that to explain the boss and everything else. That's a lot, and it's a lot of memeing, and it happens every race for them. I know they enjoy it. I don't want to stomp on other people's enjoyment, but the more you use a meme, the more annoying it can get. And like in this particular instance here, would you like to take a fetch quest isn't used very often, but the more it gets used, the more we say it, the more likely it is to become annoying. So just keep an eye on your memes. You can have running gags, you can have memes, you can do food talk, you can do those kinds of things. Just don't overdo it. Let a lot of the conversation happen naturally, and don't try and shove stuff in. So, Duskplume, you mean I shouldn't say it's Morbin time? Oh my god, the Morbius memes. I would recommend not. Unless the people name their characters It's Morbin time. Please don't. Please don't. Okay, let's skip a little further ahead again and see what happens next.
Certainly don't want your black belt to be dying, but maybe the reds.
Actually, come a little earlier. I want to watch this grind that's going on.
Yeah, not very interested in this one here. You don't want to see Ankylos, you don't want to see red Ankylos, you want to see sandworms, and you want to see T-Rexes.
Okay, Duskplume, just as a correction there. I'm not sure if you meant to say it this way, but you said you want to see our Ankylos. You do not want to see our Ankylos. They are actually worth less than the Ankylos and are harder to kill. They're a bad grind. That'll help you in your gameplay, and that'll help you in your commentary. Just putting that out there right now.
He's using the ship to maybe burn off steps a little bit more quickly than walking, which is actually a pretty cool idea. But this bottom zone here doesn't seem to have much, so he's going to want to head up to the other three.
Okay, so Duskplume mentioning that in chat that they don't want to see our Ankilo, which is good. You said it in amongst monsters you want to say, so I think it's one of those just stumbles you didn't mean to make, but I'm just pointing it out.
I'm gonna get our check at the southwest quadrant, and I believe, yep, that's just more Ankylos.
Okay, there's
Tyros and Wyverns, that's alright.
What's alright?
Certainly don't want your black belt to be dying, but maybe the reds will get some XP here. As long as they have life. Oh, they don't have life though. So
nope.
You can't save this. He's trying to see the HP, and then he'll probably reset.
Okay, I want to point out something that you might not have thought about. We're focusing on the grind. They're trying to find their grind. We want to know what the grind is going to be. What's going on with Chanigan? No one's talking about Chanigan, and they're actually in a dungeon doing stuff. I find that a little curious. It's fine that I do this too. You'll focus on one player and you'll completely miss what's happening on the other side. That's not to single you out for this. I do this all the time. I'm just pointing out, of the two screens, one of them has stuff going on that's actually interesting, and one of them is a grind. So, I actually want to know more about what's going... Excuse me. Ooh. I actually want to know more about what's going on with Chanigan. And like the grind is interesting because we want to know what's going on, who he's going to actually fight against. And they did lose a black belt, so that's fine. But we've seen a lot about the grind and not much commentary on Chanigan at this particular moment. So bounce back and forth.
Looks like a fair bit of HP here for not quite the experience that you want.
Yep.
Also, just a note.
Chanigan is diving Earth, is on, I believe,
Oh,
the
hey.
third.
Thank you, Cheese and Air, for finally talking about Chanigan. I appreciate it. Almost like I summoned them. One other thing I'm going to note. The blursing box that's right here is great for use to show things. Please don't leave it up all the time. When you want to reference it, pull it back up. It's on the tracker. You can check a box and bring it up. But you're covering our logo. And if someone is new here, somehow stumbled onto us from a host or something, doesn't know what they're watching, if you cover the thing that says Final Fantasy Randomizer, it doesn't help them see that they're watching Final Fantasy Randomizer. That's for the tracker, that's for the comms. If you notice it's up for a very long time, maybe just hide it a little. Just saying.
Third floor here, same floor as the vampire. He's got an interesting party order. Looks to be kind of sacrificing one of the reds at the top to keep the other two members safe. He's crossed level 10, which is a key level for both these classes. At 10, the black belt would normally get an extra 2 hits, but we're hit maliced, so it actually won't be until 13 or 14. But the red mages do get their first charge of level 4 magic at 10. When he gets out of the dungeon, he'll be able to heal up and get some nuke action going.
Well, we would see on Chanigan's side there as well, one of the biggest pitfalls of this party of red mages and black belts, not the best at running away.
And so we see there, that was better back and forth. That they're talking about the grind with the black belt and the red mages and the hit percent, but they're making sure to keep up with what's going on with Chanigan as well. I think you talked about them running, which they weren't really doing, unless you're trying to talk about a previous fight. You can't run from the vampire, so I'm not sure exactly what was being referenced there. And don't think you tracked that lightning too.
Yeah, that's the problem with going down to 4 bodies this early with this kind of party. Like, none of these things have a luck bonus, and none of these classes are good at running in the early game, so you really probably need the extra black belt at least until you got through a couple of dungeons. At least that would be my personal approach, but of course these runners are where they are for the reasons that they got here.
Okay, other thing I want to point out, and this is a good thing. You will notice that the two of them are paced very well. There's very rarely do you hear one of them start to say something while the other one is talking, or the other one starts to talk while they talk. Like, I think I've heard one time where Cheese and Air said one thing, I think it was just like an O or something, that Duskplume then talked over, but I don't think Cheese and Air was actually trying to raise a point of conversation. Generally speaking, these two working together are paced back and forth. They're listening, they're waiting for their turn to jump in. They're doing a back and forth teamwork here. This works really well in this instance. You're not getting much in the way of people just like blah 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 blah, and then someone's like saying something and something event happens and jumping over. So like Cheese and Air was saying something about the vampire. The fire 2x came in. Fire 2x would have been very useful for the vampire, then gets used in the next fight. We don't reference that at all because Cheese and Air was still talking. Duskplume didn't jump in to say something about that, interrupting. That was very good. And you'll listen to that throughout this whole thing. That's what's going on this whole time. That's very good back and forth teamwork.
And the vampire was hiding a Fire 2 axe.
And there's
understandable.
The
vampire trying to hide something that would instantly decimate him, but that is going to be helpful for our black belt.
Okay, I want to point out something. This is something I hate, and I don't think people realize it. Decimate does not mean destroy. Decimate means takes down by 10%. And the fire axe does more to the vampire than 10% of his health. A lot of people everywhere misuse the word decimate, and that's a personal pet peeve. They use it when they mean to destroy or something else. The vampire decimated the town of Melmond is correct. The vampire got decimated by a Fire 2x is incorrect. Just saying. Also, watch how often you say decimate. I've only heard it once in this short review that we've done. But you have a word that means destroy. Decimate literally has the word deci in it. Deci means 10. I will grant you that English evolves in a lot of different things. Dark Twinge, deci means 10. Deci means 10. That's what it means. Literally, the Roman soldiers would go into a town and wipe away 10% of the population to make a point. Decimate literally means to take down by 10%. Moving on.
Them something to.
We're going to skip further ahead. Let's come over here. We saw some stuff on Mermaid Floor and walking back out.
Yeah, the black belt takes most of the hits there.
Oh, we got a T-Rex.
Can start dealing
Let's actually go see where the T-Rex came in
got
at.
First nuke landing for about 180.
Okay, here we go.
Wait, he can't get to Volcano though. He needs the canoe, and the canoe's in seashore.
Oh, that's right. No, you do need the canoe for the floater. Okay, so yeah,
Yep.
never mind that.
Okay.
So it looks like Chanigan's gonna try these T-Rexes.
So that was good back and forth there. One of them, I think Duskplume said something that wasn't quite right. Chanigan, that's who's playing. Cheesenator jumped in and said a correction to that. Good back and forth between them. And the thing that was noted was the correction was made, no one fought it. I've heard some comms teams where someone doubles down on what was they said before just to argue it or something. It doesn't happen very often, and it doesn't really happen in our community, but I have heard it. I appreciate that there wasn't any bitterness or any fighting about it over it. It was just, oh, okay, that's cool, and then we all move on.
I didn't see how much damage the first one took, but it's socking the red mage really hard. However, it's got a script, so it's not always punching. Ganon's was getting the business from some sea snakes and lost one black belt, and he doesn't have any life charges, because he's not promoted. So Ganon's operating with 3 members here, Chanigan with 1. They're doing very different things. Ganon's trying to clear a boss, Chanigan's trying to get some levels.
T-Rex with stop. That's not fun. And slow.
All right, he's gonna. Yeah. Wow, that doesn't have much HP though. If he's getting there with the fire axe, that's not much HP.
It looked like it did take a fade or 2 at first, but that T-Rex has definitely rolled on the low side.
Okay, so it's good information there that they're providing. And they were paying attention to how much health the T-Rex had, which is valuable. You don't always have to know the exact numbers, but when you see that the enemy falls down fairly quickly, that's good to note. All of that was very good. That was handled very well. And it was a good back and forth there again. I appreciate that. Let's skip past the grind now. Come in here.
I do like this strategy, but I don't know that it's going to be the best grind. He doesn't have the knowledge of the T-Rexes. He checked a bit of desert, but not enough to find big T-Rexes. So this is still going to be able to get the black belt up to good levels, but I don't think it's going to be as quick as Chanigan's was.
Yeah, it's worse. It's not that much worse. You are taking fights more frequently, and you're going to start up more quickly as far as how fast you kill it. So you're going to get a third to 45% of the experience of a T-Rex off of one of these eyes. But you're immediately going to start pretty much killing them in 1, if not 2 turns. Yeah, 1 turn. And you just step off the tile, step back on, step off, step back on. Assuming you don't run into a really terrible off-tile encounter, this should go about as fast as fighting in the desert off the long power cycle.
And while Ganon's was prepping for his grind, Chanigan has taken out Tiamat and has lit his second orb.
Okay, so good things to note there. 1, Duskplume shared thoughts on the way that the grind was, relating it to actions that were done before and how things were going. Cheesenator then jumps in, shares their opinion. Good back and forth there as well. And then when Cheesenator is done, Duskplume then kicks it back over to what was going on with Chanigan, because they'd been fighting Tiamat 1 and took Tiamat 1 down. It wasn't necessary, especially in the Fiend 1 fights, to cover the whole fight. Players can watch that. The important fights come in the end dungeon. That's what you really want to do, the constantly tracking and mentioning everything that they're saying and doing the true play-by-play of that. In this particular instance, just noting that Tiamat was fought after the fact while the conversation was going on, that was much, much better.
At 38-35.
Yep, Chanagan got to the point where a Tiamat was no problem whatsoever. In fact, he soloed Sky from his level. It's pretty impressive.
And the key was the item here in ice, so that is going to be required. Both runners are going to have to come here eventually to be able to get into Topher.
Again, just want to point out, because I've heard a few times in these conversations, watch your ums. That's one thing I'm hearing frequently between these two. It's not enough to really be, because it's not like a stutter or something, a stuttering just the you know, the that kind of thing. They're not doing that. But I do hear the ums. And I do it myself. I think I've done it here on the VoD more than a few times. You don't always catch yourself doing it. But ums happen, and it's better if you train yourself to realize you're about to say it and take a pause than actually say it. Cutting forward further ahead. Let's come over here.
1, 2. Oh, he's opening 2. All right, changes his mind.
It is the loot.
Wow. The size of his brain this run. He got the canoe out of Sea Shrine and the loot out of Ordeals. Gets to skip a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe he just intentionally didn't buy the slab because it's a cruddy fetch quest chain that takes a while and just wanted to avoid having to do it.
It's out here.
Okay, I want to point out something that, see, there was an right there. I do it too. I want to point out something that Cheesinator did there that you might not think about. There's an opinion among some in the community that saying things are big-brained or galaxy-brained implies, I don't know, like foreknowledge or cheating or something like that. I don't particularly think that, but there's an opinion among people about that. Saying someone is big-brained or that they made a galaxy-brain play, I think is just meant to be like, oh, like they gambled and it worked out. But some take it as a, oh, you're accusing me of cheating. I just avoid using that term altogether now, just for the sake of it, because I don't want people to think that's what I'm saying. And I'm not saying necessarily you always have to avoid it, but I know that some people are touchy about it, so I just avoid it altogether.
Playing 7D chess.
Okay, so that is not go mode yet. Ganon still needs to go to Earth and get his cube, but basically it's no mode. I mean, assuming he's headed to Earth here.
I have to feel like that's the play. You need it to anyways to get your third orb. You know there's an incentive there. You know the incentive is more likely than not going to lead to something that you need.
Yeah, but Chanagan...
So I counted 4 ums on Cheesinator right there, just to continue on with that thought. And then Duskplume came in and did a whole cogent thing without saying at all. And I think it's just because you get lost in your words. That's what happens with me. And so you just say but it's better, as you saw right there, just to take a pause, just to emphasize that point. So, not singling out Cheesinator there. I was going to count off Duskplumes as well, but they didn't make any. So, cutting further ahead, we're going to go. I think we have someone in Temple of Fiends here, so let's go watch the Temple of Fiends dive.
Chanagan is already down a few floors away from Lich.
Please.
And the 20-something red mage going in.
Wow. All right. I respect this. This is basically your speed and power strat, right? Just like go in gunning and hope for the best possible outcome. Hope Kraken doesn't back row the the red wizard or red mage into you getting like slow 2'd on Tiamat.
It is very aggressive, but I feel like when you've gotten to the semifinals here and you're going up against, a very high quality player, aggressive plays are the plays to make. You don't want to play it safe at this point.
Yep. So Ganon's still...
So I don't know if you guys have talked about the fact, because we're skipping through this, if you mentioned the fact that Ganon's Gone Wild got to the final table in the previous spring tournament. That's a valuable piece of color commentary that's there, and that's something to emphasize with all of the commentaries that we have, is when you can, do some research to find out where they've been before. I know it was mentioned in the spring tournament chat more than once that Ganon made it to the final table in the previous spring tournament. So that's information that the commentators should know and should have readily available. Things like that are important. I think someone coming in would just take it at face value that Ganon's Gone Wild is a good player. But that might have been a point right there if you were thinking about it, to say, yeah, going up against someone of Ganon's Gone Wild caliber with that player having actually made it to the finals in the previous spring tournament, that's the kind of tidbit where it's a good place to work that sort of thing in.
Probably about 3 minutes from clearing Tiamat. Probably like 2.5, 3 minutes, yeah. And Chanigan is already down a few floors away from Lich.
Curious again is picking up the herb here. It's not going to lead to anything that he needs.
Probably a Hail Mary for the tail or the saber gauntlet.
That does feel like the play of somebody who I would imagine thinks that they're behind and that they're hoping for a bad Topher.
I mean, it's like 20 steps out of the way, 30 steps out of the way. I think you always check that chest to increase your odds of winning, right?
Yeah, it's a valuable point that Cheese and Air makes there. And I'm guilty of this right now. Sometimes I'll say, player, I wouldn't do this. And there's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't do just because I'm trying to save frames. But like what the player does, making sure that the viewers understand why they're doing that. The fact that it's 20 some odd steps out of the way there for GGW to go and pick up the herb. I make that. I can understand why Duskplume was questioning why they did that. But especially when it's an item like the herb, which, looking at what Duskplume has available, they already know what the slab is. It was either going to be bottle tail or herb. There's a 1 out of 3 chance that it was a turn into an item that they wanted. And then I got the herb, and the herb is like nothing to go turn that in on your flight up towards Canaria. Yeah, I think in that particular instance, it makes sense why they did it without even have to think about it. I don't know. Cheese and Air raises the right point there. I mean, I don't mind the conversation back and forth, but in that particular instance, yeah. If you haven't gotten the vibe, a lot of this is just kind of like gut instinct for what is good comms versus what is bad comms.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, well, what are you getting it for in this case? You have really everything that you need to head into Topher.
Just the saber gauntlet in case like it's a really high absorb whatever team at chaos, because you don't have temper
good questioning.
fast.
I suppose so.
Okay, and we are coming up on we're gonna get a lot of experience that doesn't really matter at this point on these Skirmaduses, but we're coming up on the Lich Revisited fight here for Chanigan.
Cheese and Airs are not wrong, but at the same time, the Gerbadusas, if you fail to run from them, you're getting punched or whatever else they have 7 times. Like, run with the black belt, fade with the red mage, just to get them out of the way. I think that was the thought process there.
And while that red mage does not have a ribbon, it is over 400 HP, so if we do get a terrible nuke pop out... Oh, never mind.
Say hi to Lich. Say bye to Lich.
Yeah, and if anything as bad is going to happen on these fiends, it needs to happen fast, because this is basically a 2 to 3 turn clock in Chanigan's case, right? He's got the offense that Ganon's is lacking. Max level black belt is just very reliable. There's a nuke, it literally can't kill either team member, and Chanigan responds by one-shotting carry.
And an entirely encounterless fire floor there, very nice.
That was a good detailed Duskplume that I hadn't caught. Well done on that one, noticing the hero run around the whole fire floor. It was a good detail, I liked that.
Ganon's working on his 4th Fiend here with the double reds, punching respectable damage from the black belt, a couple hundred. The nukes are coming out. He's trying to go all damage strats here, and Tia is down, so that's 4 orbs for Ganon's.
Yeah, you can see he's taking this fight.
And it does look like about what you said, about a 4-minute differential, assuming Ganon's gets into Topher in the next 30 seconds or so.
Yeah. Definitely still a close one, and something that could
unrunnable,
absolutely be swung,
reasoning,
maybe even by these random fights, right? Chanigan's red mage is kind of getting the business there from those Wizsay hacks.
See, I'm not sure what the heal situation is on Chanigan's side, running into some unrunnable Gersharks and Wizzahags.
Yeah, unrunnables on the seafloor are about the most dangerous you can see, except maybe like unrunnable vampire pack on the next floor. There's some really nasty stuff down here.
Let me tell you a tale about unrunnable nuke worms steps before chaos.
Oh, that is also a thing that can happen in this randomizer. Anyways, Ganon's brought the whole team up, so he's got 4 members coming in to.
I like the way you handle that, Duskplume. I don't remember if the unrunnable worms with nuke happened to you in a fight, or if it was, or in a race, or if it was someone else. But you mentioned it as a joke, and then you didn't stay on it. You didn't try and emphasize that it happened to you or linger on that conversation. It's almost a meme, but not a meme. So you mentioned it, let it be funny for a second, and then you let it fade away. That was well done there.
Topher. He's entering at just about 101. And Chanigan just passed some waters, is about to pull Kraken 2.
Pointed out in chat, Ganon's bought the slab at the end there. Sure. Why
It's
not?
extra XP. Oh wow, Chanigan keeps getting like just steps from Kraken and gets another encounter. So here we have the seafood party platter.
Doesn't seem like they're doing too much except being annoying.
I'm going to mention this one. Seafood party platter. Makes sense if you know what it is, but I was dumb for the first few weeks I was in the community, and I didn't understand why it was called that, and no one explained it on stream. So, just something to think about. Not everyone is going to is going to understand a meme when it, or something that the community references things as, unless you say something about it.
And we are now on Kraken.
Yep. Attack and wow.
Okay, bye.
See, the red mage's action was actually irrelevant. I was thinking maybe he should cast Lock. No, it just one shots it.
No, I think I'll just cast Fist instead. Ganon's is making good time here, getting ready to head into the lower floors of Topher, but...
Ow!
Ooh,
wait, Thunder?
Whiz-Vamps with Thunder. Almost taking out that red mage.
Yeah, that could have been a horribly bad for him, because then you get into the territory of, alright, well, this is a high evade fiend, and it's got slow 2 and cure 4 and yada yada, but still has 2 members, so still has a hope and a dream.
So I want to point out the casting fist. Okay, Gregory Puff pointing out casting fist was something I was going to say that, then conversation moved on. We have a tendency to call the black belts the punch mage. I think Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise with Yang does the same thing. That's a good one. Make sure, like, if you're gonna say casting fist or something like that, which honestly sounds a little dirty now that I keep saying it. Make sure you make sure you say the black belt is the punch mage or something like that, just so that people don't get confused if there is actually an FIST spell in the game, which there isn't. Although now I want the devs to add that. And then with the, what were we just talking about? One thing I want to point out, we've been focusing on Chanigan a lot. I know Ganon's Gone Wild is just still running down through the dungeon, and maybe we're going to reference they get to the Earth floor soon. While Chanigan has all the interesting new stuff going on, I feel just a little bad that we aren't talking about GGW just a little bit more. Maybe just a reference to what's going on with them.
We've yet to have a second Fiend fight last more than 1 round. And now we do. Maybe. Yes, Tiamat lives to see another day and has nuclear.
That was a really high roll. It nearly max rolled on the red wizard, but it didn't matter because or red mage rather, because of the high HP. Thank goodness for those HP blessings.
Yeah, those blessings are really turning out to more than make up for the lack of a ribbon, because 500 plus HP on a red mage, that's not really even close to level 30 yet, I don't think. That's helpful. We get a glitch.
Just a meme. I'm just saying more than makes up. You might mean more than makes up. I'm sorry.
Pulled just about the same time as a chaos pull on Chanigan's side.
Alright, reordering the party, putting the most important thing on the bottom. There. Hopefully this red mage can tank a few hits while it casts, I don't know, nuke or lock.
Oh, Chanigan left 1 HP off of that black belt. That may prove crucial.
He let off with Invis 2 on the red mage, also a great opening in case chaos is very punchy. Which it is, but we've got a lot of HP to soak with, and we could be just 1 turn away from victory here, barring any kind of shenanigans. Shenanigans?
Yeah, I think we're about done.
Duskplume, I don't know that I could have. I didn't stop myself on camera. I don't know that I could have like stopped myself from laughing into the microphone for shenanigans for Chanigans. I'm just you're a stronger person than I am for not laughing at that.
Here, we're done. That was a 3 or 4 turn chaos, very quick. GG's in chat for Chanigan, the winner of our game 1 here.
So we're gonna see
racetime.gg time of 1:03:30.
We're gonna
Very
see
impressive.
what happens with the interview. I want to do a little of the interview too, just to see. And I also want to see how Patter still goes while Ganon's Gone Wild plays through, which I assume they're going to. They're in the dungeon. They're going to at least play it out once. But I want to do a little bit of the interview as well, just so we can see what the back and forth is between them and the players too. Because there's things you can learn about the interview that I didn't even think about when I was first doing stuff. So
It's a great time on these flags, black belt or otherwise. Just a really, really well executed seed. Good, straightforward plan, grinded up, and took care of business. So GG's Chanigan, who has also joined us in the booth. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
First off, how do you feel getting your first win in a best of 3 in a big match like this semifinal?
It feels great. A very, very linear seed on my part. Like, just going from point A to point B, following the key item chain. Like, there were no no choice except after getting the floater.
Was there any worry on your side at all finding that canoe and see that maybe Ganon's may have gone there early and gotten it?
Maybe, but see that early is very dangerous. So I doubt he would have gone C. It's possible though, but I'm thinking like I had the cube chime. He probably has the same thing. Like he's grinding in desert, doing air orb and just going sea shrine after that. That was my thought.
Yeah, you'll find out. In fact, that he did just about everything the opposite of you. He's, however, on Tiamat right now. These fights are not free, by the way.
Okay, good. So we're doing a few things here. Cheese and Air pulling it back to the fight here for Tiamat to remind us of what's going on with GGW. And the other thing you might not have noticed, but is going on with the two of them, Cheese asked a question, then Duskplume asked a question, and then once Chanigan's answer was done for that second question, Cheese jumped back in. It's a good back and forth. You're sharing the microphone. No one person is dominating interviews. Now, I will point out, I'm very bad at the interview section. I either dominate it or I just let the other person talk during all of it. So I think I err on the side of just letting them talk so that I'm not talking over someone. But interview takes practice and it takes a different kind of skill than the commentary part. ADR mentioning that the restreamer probably could have switched the sound over to the remaining player, GGW. And, I mean, if you can, that's good, but you don't always have clean audio from both players, as Dark Twinge also points out. So, one second. See, that was me muting my microphone, so you didn't have to listen to that. When you can, and I know we have in the resources on the wiki the Twinstrumental Final Fantasy Covers album. That's a good one to download or link to and use. When you can, if both players don't have clean audio and you still need something to play, switch over to the Twinstrumental album, for example, and play that in the background if you're the restreamer. I know we're talking commentary, but since we're here and it was mentioned, just as a point of order to make, because chat's talking about it. Also, Chanigan, your English was fine during this interview. It sounded good. I know we're not really supposed to be critiquing you right now either. I will say, however, if you do a foreign language broadcast, I will not be able to VoD review that because, my God, I would not be able to understand anything you say. I've barely gotten a good grasp of my main language right now.
Fighting out Tiamat with a sub 40 black belt. So he does get through Tiamat. We'll see how Chaos goes. He's got a lot of HP on these characters, but not not a lot of individual punch damage. He's got to deal with these vampires first, which, by the way, we were a little scared for you when the thunder
No
came out of
spoilers
the
in
red
chat.
one.
That thunder. Yep. No, it wouldn't be too bad since I had the Roo stick, but just in case Chaos had like slow 2 or something like that, or just
Okay,
any...
Chanigan, if you and Wildham do and ask me for a VoD review of you guys in French, I will do everything except be able to talk about anything you guys actually talk about. I'll be able to listen for ums. I'll be able to listen for your back and forth. I'll be able to note whether or not you guys seem to be sharing the microphone, but I would not be able to VoD review your actual words. You guys are mean, I'm saying.
if he goes nuclear almost back to back,
Okay,
and
let's skip ahead a little.
max rolls me. Jesus, I can't talk. GG cannons.
It's just 2 letters. GG. Ganon's gone. Anyways, so the thing I think we'd love to talk about between the two of you is just the massive route divergence. Ganon's went different places, progressed differently, grinded differently than you. Tell us a little bit about what was going through your mind with that C play, Ganon's.
We're going to wrap up in a second.
I just forgot that
That's what
Crescent
was
Lake
on the list.
existed, so I never went there. And then I just tunnel visioned on C and was like, well, I don't want to do C at like level 10 with nothing. So I tried to check the desert, and I didn't want to commit to checking every quadrant in the desert because it takes forever. And
Okay, so I like the way that Cheeseinator, I think it was Cheeseinator who said this, put it in this particular position. When you're interviewing someone that just lost, like, instinct might be to just, like, harp on the loss. You don't want to harp on it, but it might, like, be something you don't realize you're doing. They didn't do that. They pitched it in such a way that it was a, here's the differences, here's how this could have led to X or Y or whatever. Let the players discuss it in terms of how they feel they did. Don't push the fact that they lost. Give them a GG. Ask them questions about route divergence. Don't rub salt in the wound. They didn't. Cheese and Air handled this perfectly. I'm just saying. Something to point out for the rest of the crew. Just a little more.
encounter
One or
was
two more
like 20
points, and then
steps
we'll-
or something.
Yeah.
So I just said, screw it, I'll just do mermaids and get a few levels, and then I have a million nukes, and I have a ruse stick and invis 2, and hopefully we can just kill Kraken. The canoe I thought had to be there because I forgot that Crescent Lake existed, so I got the canoe and was like, okay, everything makes sense. So yeah, I don't know.
Oh, right, 'cause Sages had the rod. That explains the late Earth.
Yep.
Okay.
So it does turn out that it was a bit of a difference in the grind there. You did check, it looks like, I think, just the one quadrant in desert. The southwest quadrant had T-Rexes off of the reset, and that's what Channing had used to grind.
I've tried to check the southwest one. I think I skimmed through the VoD. It looked like it was the northwest one, but I don't know.
Yeah, I checked all quadrants.
Okay, I think we're good there. We're moving through this. I'm gonna open it up to chat for any questions, but let me reemphasize the things that I listened to and heard. So I think your voice is good, Duskplume. You and Cheesenear, honestly. Very nice, very even tone. There's not a lot of wavering or odd modulation that you guys do. You don't have huge spikes or changes in tone. You maybe emphasize or maybe say a little too much, which is something to work on. It's hard, I know, but it's something to work on. But your patter is good, and you share the mic very well with your teammate, whoever is your teammate, the comms team that particular day. So overall, very good comms, very nice comms. I would consider you a pro at this as far as like Final Fantasy Randomizer is concerned, and I would, if you were willing, if we were to do like a training program, you'd be one of the people that I would point towards as like go work with Duskplume, go listen to what they do, see the advice they give you from this, because they're someone to pay attention to. So, little things to work on, nothing major. You're quite welcome, Duskplume. Any questions from anyone while we're here? I figured do this before we bounce off and go play some Arch. I always say the word weird. It's my accent, I think, but archipelago? Archipelago? I don't know. Whatever. I ask everyone. It's 5 different ways I get told to say it. Arc. A-P. Before we go play Arc. A-P. Anyone have any other questions? You guys got me. You may as well use me. Yeah, Hate, if you want me to do a commentary VoD review for you, you saw how this works. Listen to like 40 minutes of you talking, and then I'll just say what's going on. I'm not playing the RA and Clove Flags tonight. I don't have it in me. I did yard work and did grilling out. I'm tired. I don't have the brain power to do something dumb like that. I think we're good then. Well, hopefully this was valuable for everyone that was listening. Hopefully, not just the Duskplume got something out of this. Other people found things. I saw you guys chatting, so I think you did. But hopefully, other people got something valuable out of this. Anytime you guys want me to do a commentary VoD review, just let me know. I am happy to do so. We can go over what a race that you did recently, one where you think you did well, or one where you think you did poorly. Honestly. And just discuss like the things that we hear and the things that we say. Obviously, not everything I say everyone's going to agree with. People seem to think that decimate should mean something it doesn't, but whatever. But in general, yeah, that's what we're going to do here. I want to help people feel like they can get advice and grow as commentators. I want you to be better at this than I am. Just to be blunt. I don't think I'm the best commentator we have in the community. I just have I experienced doing this kind of thing back in my life in radio, so I know what to listen for to help people. So yeah. Yeah, thanks for that, just for using the word decimate. All right, guys, I'm gonna cut stream then. You guys have a good night.